chest up, shoulders back. This is Revival Fitness. And be sure to get your plan today, guys. revivalfitness.org/programs, linked below. Much more than just exercises on a sheet. You're going to receive all the information you need to make serious gains with less time in the gym. You scan in, you snort your pre-workout, you put on your egregiously oversized headphones. You are ready to go. Today is finally the day that you're going to crush that PR. Except that you don't. This may be the third or fourth time you failed this same weight in as many weeks. By now you're starting to realize that no matter how much your spotter says it was all you, bro, something is wrong. And by the way, if your spotter has to touch the weight at all, it is not a good lift. So whether you got outside assistance, you completely failed, or if you had to cheat on your form, you have shit the bed again.
There you go. Go Matt, go Matt, there you go Matt.
And the crux of the problem for a lot of guys, especially young dudes trying to bench 225 for the first time, is falling into the trap that thinking a PR can only be a 1 rep max. And that's simply not true. Say it with me. Just because you don't add weight to the bar doesn't mean you can't hit a PR. And this method is hidden in plain sight, but because it doesn't look cool on social media, it gets basically no attention. When it comes to long-term gains, the real work is done in the trenches. The sets that barely get any clicks are the ones that will eventually lead you to the PRs that will get you clicks. So as your novice gains start to run out, you're gonna have to find new ways to keep making progress, albeit at a slower rate. If you could add +5 to the bar every single week, people would be out here deadlifting literal tons of weight. And what's really going to bring you to the promised land in the gym is hitting PRs on your working sets. You can also call this phenomenon volume PRs. And while this method can apply to really any exercise, there are a few that I would not recommend you do this with the more experienced you get. We'll talk about those later on in this video. And these plateaus aren't exclusive to 1 rep maxes either. Say you're using a conventional 5x5 program or even a 3x5 and you've hit a sticking point there, the volume PR method is going to get you out of that too. So let's say for example you're plateaued with 185x5 on the bench press. This puts your estimated 1 rep max at about 215 pounds, rounded up from 213. So if you keep trying to jump from 205 and 215 up to 225, using the same exact scheme that got you plateaued in the first place, you're pretty much asking to fail. So when it comes to volume PRs, there are 2 paramount rules you need to follow. The first being, you're going to use a higher rep range than the current sticking point. So for example, if you've been stuck on the 5 rep range on a given exercise, you want to go up to at least 6 reps. You could even say 6 to 8 range, maybe 8 to 10, something like that. There's a lot of options you can choose from. And the second big point with volume PR sets, do not take them to failure. Failure does not just mean that you drop the bar on yourself and you can't move it any further. Failing a rep means you cheat on the form in any serious capacity, and or you got a spotter to help you as well. If you cannot completely control the weight of your own accord for all of the sets and all of the reps, you need to reduce the weight. The exact amount is going to vary, you could say 5 to 10%. As I talk about a lot, guys, you need to be recording your sets too, to make sure that your form is consistent across all of your repetitions. Every rep should look the exact same, or at least very close, maybe a little bit of discrepancy at the end there as you start to slow down, but you want to have the same tempo, the same cadence. You should be able to play your form back on video and scroll through it, and every rep looks just like the previous and the next. So for volume PR sets, I think a good baseline is 1 rep in reserve. You could also call that 9 RPE. The final rep should be a struggle, but your form is still clean and you can do it all by yourself. And if it's a bigger, heavier exercise, maybe you're more fatigued that day than normal, didn't get a lot of sleep the night prior, something like that, you could say 2 RIR, but you do want to take these to a pretty good intensity threshold, but not to failure. It's about finding that sweet spot to where you can push that bleeding edge, but still finish it without any other assistance or cheating. So by looking at the percentages of your estimated or tested 1 rep max on a given exercise, you can find a weight to use for the given rep range. So for this example, let's say we're going to do sets of 10. 70 to 75% 1RM is usually a good range for 10s. Now, to play it safe, I like to use lower percentages compared to higher. As a young guy, you are pretty much always going to overestimate, then you're going to end up plateauing again because you're stubborn. Ask me how I know. So we'll go on the safe side and say 70%, round to 150 pounds. If the weight that you pick is noticeably light, like you can really breeze through it easily, then you can increase by 5 to 10 pounds for the next session. So when it comes to volume PRs, there are two primary ways that you can go about this. The first method is going to be adding sets, typically over a 3-week wave. I've done this myself in the past. You can do week 1, say 3x10 for example, week 2, 4x10, then in week 3 you work up to 5 sets of 10, all with the same weight. Once you can do 5 sets of 10 with the given weight and your form is all clean, you will be good to progress with heavier weights, then repeat at the 3-set mark in the following week. So remember, in this example, we're stuck at 185 pounds by 5 reps on the bench press. You work up to 5 sets of 10 with 150 pounds. You retry your 185 by 5, I would bet you that you're going to get at least 6, if not 7 or 8 reps, and you, my friend, have just hit a PR. And I know this is not exactly glamorous, it might seem kind of slow, but this is the reality of lifting outside the novice phase, guys, especially if you're natural. It's going to become a tortoise, not a hare type of race. So if you don't have the patience for this, you're going to not only plateau a lot, you're probably going to get hurt a lot too. So, calm down. And the other method, if you want to keep your sets consistent on a weekly basis, is going to be to focus on just adding reps. So say you stick with 3 sets of 10. Once you can do 3x10 for all sets with good form, increase by 5 pounds. And by the way, it is normal to increase the weight, but not be able to replicate the top number of sets in the rep range after you do so. So if you just hit 150 pounds for 3x10, and you go up to 155, you may only get 3 sets of 10, and then 9, and then 8. This is fine. Don't panic. Working up to the same number of sets and reps once you increase the weight, in most cases, should only take 2 to 3 weeks at the absolute most. And in my estimation, if you're going to do the static set method, I think you're better suited to pick a rep range than just one single rep to go from. So in the prior example, whenever we increased sets across the wave, we did sets of 10 for 3, 4, and then 5. In this example, I think you're better suited to do 8 to 10 or even 8 to 12 if you're going to keep the set number totally consistent. This way you have a little bit more wiggle room, because by default, the weight on 3x10 across is almost always going to be a bit heavier than going up to 5x10, simply because you're leaving 2 sets off of the table. Something I prescribe in my plans is hitting the top 2 sets at the highest end of the rep range, and then if you get the 3rd set at least the lowest number in the rep range, or even higher than that, then you should be good to increase weight. So say you're doing a set of 8 to 12 with 150 pounds. If you can get 150 on the first set for 12, the second set for 12, and then the third set for 8 or more, I think you're going to be good to increase up to 155 for the next week. No matter which method you choose, and you can even apply both of these depending on the exercise, these are the benefits of volume PRs. You're going to make more gains, ultimately with less weight, so that's easier on your overall recovery. You're going to get a lot of form and technique reinforcement too. So this can include things like the bar path or the dumbbell path. You're going to get a lot of practice bracing, controlling your breathing, keeping your low back tight, keeping your core tight, finding your good foot position. If you're somebody that tends to just get lucky with your form as opposed to being in total control, you're going to be exposed on volume PR sets. And that leads us into the exceptions. And once again, you can do these exercises for volume PRs if you're so inclined, but in my experience, I think these are not as well suited, simply because they are just taxing for a lot of people. And this boils down to heavy axial loading exercises. If you guys want a full breakdown of what axial loading is, you can click the video in the top corner I made a while ago. I break it all down there. But these are the ones that put a lot of stress, not only on the low back, but other common problem areas too. So if you're willing and able to do these exercises for volume PRs, be my guest, but a lot of you are going to run into problems. And the first exception here is the overhead press. So I don't know about you, but after I do a hard set of OHP, it's very difficult to replicate the strength on the next set. It's not uncommon on overhead press, guys. Say you get 6 reps on set number 1, you may only get 3 or 4 on the following set. And if you have past issues with the shoulders, the wrists, the elbows, joints like that, this exercise can really beat you up. So I think for the purposes of volume, a seated shoulder press is going to ultimately be better. Even then, any type of shoulder press is going to tend to plateau pretty quickly, so keep that in mind. That is normal. But you could do a seated barbell press, seated dumbbell press. I would recommend, if you use dumbbells, to go higher reps so you can actually get the damn things into place and not waste a bunch of time and energy trying to hoist them up to your shoulders. And you can even do a machine press here as well. If you guys are looking for a full video on the best ways to use machines in the gym, a full masterclass, check out the video in the top corner as well. Now, the second exception here are back squats. And some people can squat for volume and they do it very regularly, others can't. I can't. So if you are going to squat for volume, I would recommend using a safety squat bar if you have access to one. If you don't have access to that, you could opt for front squats. Both of these exercises keep you in a more upright position. The only exception with front squats, though, is the grip. I've worked up to 5 sets of 10 with heavy-ish front squats. That is doable for a while, but most guys, after a certain time period, the grip issue is going to become too much to overcome, and you're going to have to end up working them out of your routine. You could also do split squats in this position too. And keep in mind too, guys, if you're looking to solely focus on the quads, or primarily focus on the quads for this exercise slot, I think you're better suited to do something like a leg press or a hack squat as opposed to a free weight squat. So depending on the goal of the exercise, this is going to make things change too. And the third exception here are power deadlifts. And whenever I say power deadlifts, I mean the ones taken from the floor, sumo and conventional. So if you ask me, something like a Romanian deadlift or even a stiff-legged deadlift are going to be better suited here. I like myself the dumbbell Romanian deadlift for volume simply because it's going to be easier on the low back than a barbell in the vast majority of cases. And I would say as well, if you have access to a trap bar, that's going to be easier on the low back than a standard straight bar. But you still can do a standard straight bar for these if you would like. And while sumo and conventional deadlifts are more fun than RDLs or SLDLs, the moneymaker with those is the controlled eccentric component. So even if you do the same number of reps on a conventional deadlift compared to RDL, given the fact that you're slowing down the RDL on the negative, you're going to net more muscle growth ultimately from the latter. And the last exercise on the exception list is the good morning. So these are notoriously scary for people, which once again, you can definitely do them safely. Don't fall for the old adage, oh, they're going to destroy your back. If your form sucks, sure they will. But the straight bar with the good morning is going to be the hardest. Similar to the back squat, not only can this be stressful on the low back, which is a primary mover in the good morning too, so that's kind of an aside. But in terms of holding the straight bar on your back, the wrist and the elbows and the shoulders, that can get pretty painful, even with relatively light weights. And depending on your build and your situation, general good mornings like this, even if you do the low bar style, it might start to ride up your back. I've done these with a pad on the bar too. It just gets relatively uncomfortable, I think, for a lot of people. So if you're going to opt for a good morning, I would say an SSB or a cambered bar. Those are going to be better options. A very, very small percentage of you are going to be brave enough to do good mornings. Most of you aren't. But in terms of volume, I think they're ultimately better options. I think good mornings are best suited for 1 or 2 top sets, and then you move on to something else. But no matter what exercises you ultimately end up doing, or the rep range, the total sets, there's a lot of ways you can spin this, guys. Progress is progress. At the end of the day, it's you versus the weight. Your form needs to be clean, all these reps need to be in control, and you're making slow and steady progress. And if you want all of this outlined for you, no guesswork involved, just plug and play, grab your program down below. I promise you, you will not regret it. But this has been it for me, guys. Thank you for sticking around. Big shout out, as always, to the Patreon supporters and the channel members. Get in contact with me down below on Patreon, and you can also join the Discord to get in conversation about your own training and eating, and save money on some great products and services. And I will catch you guys next time.